think I've been taking photographs since 18 years old, maybe 17 years old. I had the first camera, but my first real camera was the Pentax, and I bought that in Nairobi, and I haggled with the chap in the camera shop for days and days and days, and I go back, and he knew that I wanted one desperately, and of course in the end I had to pay what he had suggested I should pay. However, I didn't have a light meter, but I rummaged around second-hand shops and I got a Western Master, I think it was called. And up until that point, I was guessing, and there were a lot of rejects, naturally. I think it was all black and white, I think, at the time. I took indoor shots in the Brucellosis Mart in Carmarthen and watched the activity of them selling animals, cows and things, because that's where I did a lot of drawing. So it must have been that when I was a student then. 1958, 1959, up to 1960 I think, I was in St Martin's in London. And I made lots of drawings and sketches of the old parts of the town. Everything was burnt. I had to get rid of a lot of stuff when I left. I burnt a lot up in the garden in Abergwili. Piles of life drawings and that sort of thing. But the photography part, a lot of the photography took place in and around Kenya. Yes, what was it? 1969. The lady teaching art in St Clair's secondary school, she became pregnant and had to leave as a result of that. And thankfully they had a kiln there, and we started working with clay. Most of my more successful students became sculptors. But anyway, when I did come back from Africa, I was still taking photographs whenever I could. The Storewell School in St Clair's had been adapted so that I had the facility there. I had a dark room there. And in fact, I taught photography in the school as well. So the influence of photography was important to some of these pupils of mine, and they went on and became photographers in their own right. Of course, as it changed, they knocked down the Market Hall, which is a massive place, and then the council built sheds, the wooden sheds, while they were building the second market. So I managed to persuade the Tesco manager for me to have access to the rooftop on the Tesco building, the first Tesco's which was alongside the market precinct, really, in Red Street there. So I went up there and I had access to the whole area, and I photographed from that aspect different parts of the town, and especially the wooden sheds. The market was the most important part of the culture of our town here. If you were arranging to meet, you'd meet in the market. Yeah, at the end of the 1970s, the market, I made a point of photographing every stall holder in the market, and sometimes more than once. But Of course, they were mainly in black and white. Oh, it was a busy river, yes. Yeah, and the changes that have occurred there are absolutely immense. I mean, the old photographs show how busy the port was. And in our time, in my time anyway, all the barks and things have disappeared. The pubs down there, the sloop served whether it was in flood or not. It remained open, and I had seen in the sloop people in there with waders, the fishermen particularly. That's where they mainly went for a drink. And the Jubilee, that was at the bottom of Quay Street. The one that I loved best was the rock around the Towie. Paulinda, that's right, Paulinda. Oh, how lucky was I there then? Because I just happened to be at the park entrance, and I had my camera, and she asked me, "Are you the journal photographer?" No, I said, no, I always take photographs. I just have my camera. I always walk around with it. And she said, "Well, would you come because we're performing?" She said. She was the artist, really, the soloist for the band. And I said, "Well, who are you?" And I remember she said, "We're the diamond-backed rattlesnakes." She said, and I thought, my God, I had visions of snakes crawling all over the place. Anyway, I said, "Yes, I'll be there," and I did too. And I went, and it was a fascinating event, and they were a damn good group. They were excellent, and I was chuffed to bits because I submitted that photograph to the journal, and it was printed.